to our presentation. But before we proceed, we would like to introduce ourselves first. I am Ella May Bagao.
Hi, I'm April Grace Ikat.
And I am Angeline Speros, and we are from Group 9.
For today's video, we will talk about Bruner's and Ausubel's theories. Have you ever heard these names before? If not, well, don't worry, because the goal of our group for this video is, first, to help you know about each of the two theorists' background,
To help you understand what are the theories all about.
And lastly, to help you distinguish the significance or the relevance of their theories to learning.
So let's begin with Bruner's theory. Who is he? His full name is Jerome Seymour Bruner. Bruner was an American psychologist who made an outstanding contributions to the study of perception, cognition, and education. He was born on October 1, 1915, to Polish immigrant parents Hermann and Rose Gluckman Bruner. He was born blind and did not achieve sight until after 2 cataract operations while he was still an infant. He attended public schools, graduating from high school in 1933 and entered Duke University, where he majored in psychology and earned the AB degree in 1937. Bruner then pursued graduate study at Harvard University, receiving the MA in 1939 and the PhD in 1941. And during the World War II, he served under General Eisenhower in the Psychological Warfare Division of Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force in Europe. After the war, he joined the faculty at Harvard University in 1945. He made significant contributions to human cognitive psychology and cognitive learning theory in educational psychology. Bruner was also a senior research fellow in the New York University School of Law. He taught in universities in both the United States and England and was the author of many articles and books in the field of psychology and education. Bruner died on June 5, 2016 at New York, New York.
So, hi, good day. I was tasked to discuss about the Bruner's theory and constructivism. Bruner's theory on constructivism encompasses the idea of learning as an active process wherein those learning are able to form new ideas based on what their current knowledge is as well as their past knowledge. It means that the learner selects and transforms information, construct hypotheses, and make decisions, relying on a cognitive structure to do so. Note that the cognitive structure is defined as the mental process which offers the learners the ability to organize experience and derive meaning from them. This cognitive structure allows the learner to push the past given information in constructing their new concepts. The learner, which is often a child, will take pieces of their past knowledge and experience and organize them to make sense of what they know. Then, base further concepts and solve additional problems based upon a combination of what they already processed and what they think should be processed next. The teacher's resources should use to focus on that of encouragement, aiding and allowing the students to uncover the main principle on their own. Communication between the learner and the teacher is the key concept. So, Socratic learning is suggested as the best method of communication in this theoretical framework, as it allows the teachers to actively note any study skills the learner verbalizes, their progression, their frustrations, and form a rubric of their current learning state based on the dialogue. Seeing as this theory takes known information and expounds upon it, any teacher's lesson plans, teacher worksheets, or resources should in fact be constantly building the learner's ability in a spiral manner.
A predilection of learning. Brunner is poignant about language and how it affects cognition within this theory of learning development. It is pertinent to any success of a child to identify the differences of language with the child being younger. They need time to advance not only in their conceptual learning, but their language as well. Second, how a grouping of knowledge is able to be constructed to best be understood by the learner. When evaluating the study skills of the child, Brunner suggests that teachers must be explicit regarding organizations, helping the learner to focus on the larger task at hand as well as the goals, instead by getting caught on minor frustrations. Their critical thinking will be tested and how they are going to handle the problems. Third is the effective manners for the teacher to present said materials to the learner. Of course, as a teacher, it is important to have a good relationship with the child by treating them properly as well they gave back to us. They will be able to learn from us as well and be inspired as they are encouraged to praise efforts put out by the learners while reminding them, helping themselves to focus on relevant items, encouraging them to practice and rehearse what they have learned from the facilitator. With the fourth and final aspects of being progression, of rewards as well as punishments. The implementation of rewards and punishment in teaching may bring some positive impacts on students' learning. This was done by reading, browsing, and reviewing such as books and journals. Theoretical rewards would increase students' motivation to learn and work harder.
And now we will be talking about how does Brunner's theory applied in learning. Brunner's constructivist theory is a general framework for instruction based on the study of cognition. Much of this theory is linked to child development research. The ideas outlined in Brunner originated from a conference focused on science and math learning. And Brunner illustrated this theory in the context of mathematics and social science programs for young children, in which Brunner focuses on language learning in young children. And take note that constructivism is a very broad conceptual framework in philosophy and science, and Brunner's theory represents one particular perspective.
So, this example is taken from Brunner 1973. So, the example is, the concept of prime numbers appears to be more readily grasped when the child, through construction, discovers that certain handfuls of beans cannot be laid out in complete rows and columns. Such quantities have either to be laid out in a single file or in an incomplete row column design in which there is always one extra or one too few to fill the pattern. These patterns the child learns happens to be called prime. It is easy for the child to go from this step to the recognition that a multiple table, so-called, is a record sheet of quantities in complete multiple rows and columns. Here is factoring. Multiplication and prime is a construction that can be visualized. So, as you can see, in factoring, multiplication, and prime, you can visualize what the next number is. We all know that when factoring, you need to get the values which is done or that can be answered in that certain number. And in multiplication, all you need to do is multiply, and then you can visualize what the answer will be. And the primes, we all know that anything that can be called prime that cannot be multiplied by 2, 3, and here, there, and so on. Prime number is those numbers that can only be multiplied by 1, and the answer will be the same as the number itself.
The three principles of Bruner. First, readiness. Instruction must be concerned with the experiences and contexts that make the student learn. Second, spiral organization. Instruction must be structured so that it can be easily grasped by the student. Third, going beyond the information given. Instruction should be designed to facilitate extrapolation and/or fill in the gaps. The statement of Bruner's theory of instruction, addressing the four aspects, are good methods for extracting knowledge, should result in simplifying, generating new propositions, and increasing the manipulation of information.
So let's move on. And now let's talk about Ausubel's theory, subsumption theory. So this is a brief example, background, the background of the theorist. By the way, his name is David P. Ausubel. He was born in 1918 and grew up in Brooklyn, New York. He attended the University of Pennsylvania, taking the pre-medical course and majoring in psychology. After graduating from the medical school at Middlesex University, he completed a rotating internship at Governor Hospital, New York City Department of Hospitals, located in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, including the Little Italy and Chinatown of 1944. His military service began then with the U.S. Public Health Service. He was assigned to UNRRA, or United Nations Relief and Rehabilitation Administration, in Stuttgart, Germany, working with displaced persons. He earned a PhD in developmental psychology from Columbia University with the assistance of Jill G. Bill. In 1973, he retired from academic life to devote full-time to his psychiatric practice. His principal interests in psychiatry have been general psychopathology, ego development, drug addiction, and forensic psychiatry. Dr. Ausubel published extensively textbooks in developmental and educational psychology and books on specialized topics such as drug addiction, psychopathology, and ego development, and over 150 articles in psychological and psychiatric journals. In 1976, he received the Thorndike Award from the American Psychological Association for Distinguished Psychological Contribution to Education. He retired from professional life in 1994 to devote himself full-time at the age of 75 to writing. 4 books resulted, and that is the general psychopathology, ego development, drug addiction, and forensic psychiatry. Dr. Ausubel passed away on July 9, 2008.
The subsumption learning theory. The subsumption theory was developed in 1963 by the American psychologist David Ausubel. The theory focuses on how individuals acquire and learn large chunks of information through visual means or text materials. As opposed to many other instructional theories, which are psychology-based models applied to instructional design, the subsumption theory was originally developed exclusively for instructional design. It prescribes a way of creating instructional material that helps learners organize their content in order to make it meaningful to transfer. And the goal here is for learners to have the necessary background that will help them solve any problem and also retain this knowledge. According to the concept set forth by Ausubel, the acquisition of knowledge is based on the actual processes that occur during learning. The key process that takes place in the learner's brain is subsumption, wherein new content is related to relative ideas that are already present in the existing cognitive structure on a non-verbatim basis. Cognitive structures are what's left in the human brain from all the learning experiences after forgetting inevitably occurs. So, when some details, facts, or situations lose their individual nature, they are then integrated into a general notion.
Two types of subsumption theory. The correlative subsumption. Now, let's suppose you encounter a new kind of tree that has red leaves rather than green. In order to accommodate this new information, you have to alter or extend your concept of tree to include the possibility of red leaves. You have learned about this new kind of tree through the process of correlative subsumption. In a sense, you might say that this is more valuable learning than that of derivative subsumption, since it enriches the higher level concept. This addresses that when you add new details to what you already know, usually a higher order concept, a learner collects new information that extends from their existing knowledge base or elaborating upon previously acquired information. Derivative subsumption. This describes the situation in which newly learned information in an instance or example of a concept previously learned. So let's suppose you have acquired the basic concept such as tree. You know that a tree has trunk, branches, green leaves, and may have some kind of fruit. And with that, when fully grown, it is likely to be at least 12 feet tall. Now you learn about a kind of tree that you have never been seen before. Let's say a persimmon tree that conforms to your previous understanding of tree. Your new knowledge of persimmon trees is attached to your concept of tree, without substantially altering that concept in any way. So, an Ausubelian would say that you have learned about persimmon trees through the process of derivative subsumption. The 4 key principles of subsumption theory. First, learners should be presented with the most general concept first, and then their analysis. Second, the instructional materials should include new as well as previously acquired information. Comparisons between new and old concepts are crucial. Existing cognitive structures should not be developed but merely reorganized within the learner's memory. The role of the instructor is to bridge the gap between what's already known and what is about to be learned.
The benefits of advanced organizers. Advanced organizers are valuable tools that mentally help learners learn and retain knowledge, enabling them to combine new with already known information. This leads to the so-called meaningful learning, which is the complete opposite of the parrot-like technique of memorization. Thus, this tool prepares the cognitive structure of learners for the learning session which is about to occur through schemas and conceptual patterns so that new information can be seamlessly subsumed into the existing cognitive structures. If instructors provide a brief description or a preview of the information which is about to be learned, learners will be able to start with the big picture of things and then link new ideas, theories, and concepts to existing mental maps of the related field. Today, Ausubel's theory is not particularly popular because many educators believe that it promotes fairly passive role for learners who mainly receives verbal instruction that doesn't require any struggle and engagement on their behalf.
That's all for today's presentation about our topic, BRUNER'S and Ausubel's theories.
We hope that we enable you to give the informations you need to know about them.
Thank you so much everyone for watching. Bye. Keep safe, keep safe.